Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we'll configure our IPv6 only server to host a website that will be accessible to those users which had IPv4 support only as well. Okay, so yeah, those users with IPv6 they can access it, but those users whose ISP doesn't provide that IPv6 support is still they can access the website as well. Okay, so let's get started with a login to our server. We have to SSH. Okay, few things you have to know. We'll be using Cloudflare and we'll be using Nginx as a web server. So Cloudflare provided this proxy service with proxy the information between IPv4 and IPv6 system. Okay, a few things you have to know that this only support for the support is only for the support is only for HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So you have to SSH into your system, right? So you have to have IPv6 support for yourself as a developer. You have to have that IPv6 support, right? Because you have to SSH into that server and configure your system. And second thing is okay, if you have WebSocket, the WebSocket will be disconnected if it's idle for some like 60 seconds. So that's one thing you have to remember. And Cloudflare says that the WebSocket may get disconnected sometime when they deploy new changes to their system, right? So yeah, you have to kind of take care of that. Let's SSH into our server. Yeah, here is my IPv6 address, right? So what I'll do is I'll copy that. You can get your IPv6 address from your cloud provider as well, and simply edit, okay, as a AAA record. So as you can see, we have chosen a record IPv6, and here's the IP address. And make sure you check this proxied. Okay, you have the information should be proxied, right? So yeah, and kind of save it. So after this, what happens under the hood is that it kind of create some additional DNS records that will be useful to us. Okay, something like IPv6. So if we check a record, we haven't added any a record here, right? But what it says is it's pointing to these two addresses. And if we check a record, that's IPv6 record, it's also pointing to other two IP address, IPv6 address that is not the one here. Okay, so what it does, what Cloudflare does it for end user, although if their system support IPv6 they will get these two address, and if the system support only IPv4 they will get these two IP addresses. Okay, so whenever the user send the traffic, the Cloudflare will communicate with the user on their same protocol. I mean, if the user is an IPv4, the Cloudflare will communicate in IPv4. If it's an IPv6, the Cloudflare will communicate in IPv6. But our server, whenever the Cloudflare can communicate, send data and to and fro from our server, they both communicate in IPv6. Okay, so whenever user send from request from IPv6 before address, it will simply get the request, kind of check the information and send the same request to our server, IPv6 server. It will get that request and send it back to the user. Okay, that's how it worked, and yeah, that's how we have done. We have added the address. Okay, now we have to configure our web server. Okay, so I have already added this IPv6 index HTML. Here is hey. Okay, let's simply edit that. Nano index. Hey, how you doing? Control X. Now we'll host this point to this particular folder from our nginx configuration. Okay, cat etc nginx config IPv6. Okay, I have written the configuration on this particular file. It's inside config. So any .conf file inside config will be used by nginx. Okay, that's one way to write the configuration. So as you can see, here's the simplest configuration we have. So listen to port 80 and remember, just check this. There is this :2 for any IP addresses, IPv4 addresses, something like that, and listen on port 80 for IPv6 request. This server and the files are on this directory, and this is the index file. That's the configuration. Okay, so nginx -t sudo. So whenever you change something, just check with nginx -t and sudo restart nginx. Okay, sudo system control restart nginx, and if we check that v6, and yeah, we should get the message. Okay, yeah. So if you have to host some static websites, some websites that depends on HTTP and HTTP traffics only, and WebSocket that is within IP, I mean WebSocket is within HTTP, so yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, if you don't depend on UDP and some other protocol, and you have access to IPv6, you can get some cheap server that have IPv6 only support and host your website. Okay, yeah, that's it.